Hello everyone and welcome to a truly remarkable game from the Greek Team Championship. It comes as a suggestion from a user named Nick so thank you for that. And it's Athanasios Mastrovasilis versus Momchil Nikolov. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I did not have all that much practice with Greek names. But the game itself, it's simply phenomenal, so hope you guys enjoy this. It will, well, improve your Saturday at least tenfold. So let's check it out. White with the white pieces opens with d4. We have knight to f6, c4, we have e6 and g3. Sorry about that. White goes for the Catalan opening, preparing to fianchetto his light square bishop. And here, still the most common reply is d5. But black strikes in the center right away with c5, also very popular, just not as popular as d5. Yet, maybe, white advances the pawn to d5, because this is now how the chess is played nowadays. You do not miss up an opportunity to grab more space. E captures on d5, c captures, and now d6. And we have knight to c3, continuing development, g6 now preparing to fianchetto the dark square bishop, and bishop to g2. We have bishop to g7 and knight to f3, and we've basically transposed into the Benoni defense. And here, black just castles. So this is nothing new. This has been played many times. There are like 4,000 games just in top tier tournaments with this exact same position. So we have castles by white as well, and rook to e8. And now the usual way white will play this is to go knight to d2. It's very standard. You want to bring this knight to c4, put pressure on the d6 pawn, play bishop f4, put more pressure on this pawn, and black will at some point probably will even have to defend it with bishop to f8. So there are many lines here. Of course, you guys know all of that. And also just the immediate bishop to f4, putting pressure on the pawn right away. But here we have rook to e1. It's a very rare move, and it's one that, as you'll see, white prepared very nicely. So here a6, black of course wants to go for the usual b5. White stops this, plays a4, now controls b5, and knight b to d7. And now bishop to f4, attacking the pawn here, and now knight to h5, going after the bishop and saying you are more than welcome to grab my d6 pawn. But this is still all very known theory. If bishop captures on d6, we can play queen b6, attack the bishop and the pawn here, and now it's very hard to get out of this. If you just move the bishop, we're gonna capture it, mess up your pawn structure here in front of your king, and still capture on b2. So that's pretty bad. We're gonna have to go into something like g4, queen captures, pawn captures, and then after g captures, we're gonna have a very sharp game with both kings wide open like this. But in the game, we have bishop to g5, another known idea, attacking the queen on d8, queen to c7, sidestepping this attack, and now white grabs more space with e4. We have rook to b8, trying to go for that b5 move, and now you could go for something like a5. It's a standard idea in such positions where if black plays b5, you want to capture some b6 en passant, and then leave black with a weak a6 pawn. But in the game, we have g4 challenging this knight, and now what can black play? Well, you have to bring the knight back. There's really nothing else. Knight to f6, and then now comes h3, and this h3 is a new move in the game. The position has been reached before, for example, in the Women's World Team Championship between Tan Zhongyi and Tatev Abrahamyan, where the immediate e5 was played. However, I think white was aware of this game, and he decided to not go for this, because in that game, d captures on e5 was played. But if black wants, black could go for the sharpest knight captures on g4, and then, for example, e6, knight to f8, or rather knight d to f6, and black is holding this, doesn't seem to be having all that much problems. So this is why I think white decided to avoid the immediate e5 and play h3, first defending the g4 pawn, and next he's gonna play e5. So this is a new move, even though I took the game from the Leech's database. The Leech's database states that b5 from black is actually a new move, but I only use a free database, so maybe this game that had this particular move was not in my free database, so it's possible. I'm still going to call the h3 the completely new game, but like I said, it's possible that it's b5. So okay, a captures on b5, we have a captures on b5, and only now e5. So the difference between that and the game that we discussed is that now the g6 pawn is protected, so you can play knight captures on g4, and also we captured once on b5, so some future rook lifting might be possible. So those are some of the differences. So d captures on e5, and now of course the e5 pawn is defended 3 times. We remove one of the defenders. We play d6, challenge the queen, queen to b6, and now we play bishop captures on f6. This is the tricky move, because now if you capture with the knight, then you no longer defend the pawn, then we can take the pawn as well. So bishop captures on f6 was played, and now g5, also a very important move. Everything white played here is played to such perfection that it's just enjoyable to just watch. So bishop back to g7, and now knight to d5. Attacking the queen, you have a very nice outpost for the knight on e7, and also potential in some lines even on f6. So queen to d8, and now you don't go for knight to e7 right away, because if knight e7 check, black will happily give up the rook for the knight and this incredibly strong pawn. So first, white played rook to a7. So utilizing both of the differences from the game that we've discussed, the rook is now allowed to go for this beautiful rook lift, putting pressure on the entire 7th rank. So here, black should play something like rook to b7, and then it's unclear what white had in mind here. Maybe capturing, maybe just rook a8, and then maybe rook b8, and then we see a repetition. Who knows? I'm sure, of course, he had something in mind, because these are two very strong grandmasters. But in the game, bishop to b7 was played, and this allows white to continue his happy attack. So knight to e7 with check, but now with the difference that if you capture this now and try to give up the exchange like this, now knight to h2 is super annoying, attacking the bishop twice, and also if the bishop moves, there is a double attack on this knight. So you could even play queen g5, pin the bishop here, but we simply capture on b7, and after rook captures h4, and the queen can no longer keep pinning the bishop. Once the queen moves, we're just going to pick up the rook on b7. So white would be, well, close to winning here, if not winning. But okay, after knight to e7 check, king to f8, and now comes knight to h4. Another brilliant move. This is, setting up like it was a Tal game. And now the question is, can you capture on g2 now? Yes, you could. If you capture on g2, we're going to capture back. And now, how do you find a move here for black? It's very unclear. Is there even a good move here for black? For example, if you try to trade rooks, we're just going to play rook to c7. And what can you play? Knight to b6. We're going to play knight to c6. Challenge the queen. And now, again, no good moves for the black queen. If queen g5, we're going to play d7. And this is, again, now just winning for white. It's too overwhelming a position to hold for black. So after this knight to h4 move, black played queen to b6 right away. It's the absolute best reply. He goes after the rook here. But now white has this beautiful rook captures on b7. So, of course, you can't capture back with the queen. You have to capture with the bishop. And now we have queen to d5 with a double attack on the rook here. So what do you play here? Well, this is the crucial position, and black should have played something like rook e to b8, and still black's position would be very difficult here. White is just mounting a beautiful attack, but black played rook to a7 here, and this is what makes our move, or rather a series of moves, possible. Feel free to pause the video here and try to find the winning idea for white. It's actually a forced checkmate in 4, so while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on figuring out what the position is all about. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is, of course, queen captures on f7 with check. We start off with a queen sacrifice. Even though you don't have to, you could actually start by capturing the g6 pawn. For example, knight captures on g6, h captures on g6, and then the same idea applies. Queen captures on f7, king captures, bishop d5 check, king to f8, and now knight to g6 will be checkmate, as everything is nicely covered here and you cannot block anything. Of course, the check with the knight cannot be blocked, it can just be avoided. So instead, after rook to a7, queen captures on f7 was played right away, and this is a good thing to remember. If you can deliver mate in 4 with a queen sacrifice, if you start with a queen sacrifice, it's much better to do it than, start with something else and then sacrifice the queen. It's just, much flashier, and more people will see it and remember it. So here, queen captures on f7. It's also a fine position for any book on tactics, or, if they still make those, just see the power of the two knights, and this knight stage for setting this up is just amazing. So there's only one reply. King captures on f7, and now the same idea. Bishop d5 check, king to f8, and now knight e captures on g6 with check. Black's only move is to capture back, and after captures, knight to g6 delivers checkmate. Incredible stuff here. I have to, draw some arrows and make some colors red to use for the thumbnail. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, thank you a lot and very much, Nick T, for suggesting such a wonderful game. And also, it was the perfect moment to show it as we have a rest day in the US Chess Championship today. I would like to thank Tom Deralo, Nicholas Taxidis, David Kimura, John Cousins, and Prashant Rawat for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the US Chess Championship, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, hopefully as nice as this one, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your Saturday.